Working with Senator Mitchell was, and probably will be, the highlight of my career on the Major League Baseball steroids investigation. I got involved through one of my partners, Charlie Sheeler. Charlie and Senator Mitchell are the ones who pitched and got the engagement. And Charlie asked me to join as one of the senior members of the team. It was a 2-year engagement. It was fascinating in a number of ways. Number one, the first part of the investigation, we were really stonewalled by both the Players Association and the inability to really dig in and find out what was happening within the closed confines of the locker room of a Major League Baseball team. And then a guy named Kurt Radomski got busted for dealing steroids. And he was cooperating with the federal authorities. And Senator Mitchell was unbelievable in his ability to convince Mr. Radomski and the federal authorities to work with our investigation. And that opened a number of doors to us where we were able to gather significant evidence about the use of performance-enhancing drugs in baseball, culminating in the report that Senator Mitchell did. And I played, along with a couple of my partners, a significant role in both the investigation and the drafting of the report. And what I learned most from Senator Mitchell, which I will carry with me forever, is his ability not to pass judgment or make a decision until it's absolutely necessary. And that was something that he instilled in all of us as we were evaluating the evidence that we were finding, some of which was valuable and some of which was not. And when we were going through the report and drafting the report, and he was deciding which Major League Baseball players to actually name in the report, because he knew that the players that got named in that report were going to be big news, nationally and internationally. And the time and the care and the judgment that he took before he decided which player we would actually name based on the evidence we had was a remarkable learning experience for me, and something that I've taken and actually implemented in my practice every day. We represented Arab Bank. Arab Bank is one of the largest financial institutions in the Middle East, and they have and had branches throughout Palestine. They're based in Jordan, and they were sued by a series of plaintiffs under the Anti-Terrorism Act. And the claim was that Arab Bank had facilitated transactions for members of Hamas, the terrorist group Hamas. And the plaintiffs were victims and families of victims who were killed in terrorist attacks during the Second Intifada, so 2000 to 2004. And under the U.S. Anti-Terrorism Act, the plaintiffs were attempting to hold Arab Bank liable for facilitating the transactions and thereby providing material support to terrorists. And we represented Arab Bank. It was obviously a case filled with very interesting and cutting-edge legal issues, but also tremendous emotional issues associated with these terrible attacks and whether or not you could hold a financial institution liable under those circumstances. And we tried the case in Brooklyn for 6 weeks in federal court. There was a finding against the bank at the end of the trial, and that case is now on appeal to the Second Circuit. The second case is we represented Lockheed Martin in a very interesting case involving Russian satellites. And the claim was that Lockheed Martin had tortiously interfered with contracts related to the rights to what were formerly military, Russian military satellites. And we tried that case to a jury in Baltimore City and won that for Lockheed Martin. Very interesting, spent a lot of time in Russia, understanding the way that Russia was commercializing formerly military assets, and just a fascinating experience and a good outcome for the client. So probably the most interesting arbitration that I was involved in related to back in the internet heyday. We represented MCI, which became WorldCom, and MCI was divesting itself in its merger with WorldCom of its internet backbone, and it was selling the internet backbone to a company called Cable and Wireless. And as part of the deal whereby MCI sold its internet backbone to Cable and Wireless, there was a post-closing adjustment. So the parties would true up essentially the purchase price depending on a number of factors. One of them was what was August revenue. And we actually tried a 3-week arbitration, believe it or not, over what August revenue was. And I never in a million years, only accountants, by the way, could come up with 3 weeks of testimony about what August revenue could possibly be. But it was extremely interesting because it was in the heyday of the internet backbone. And we won that case, and very interesting.